So we're going to begin. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, B1, report by the superintendent, Dr. Henson.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn. We're going to start tonight with a video presentation. We're going to highlight one of our students tonight. I'll introduce him after the video tonight, but it's one of our tremendous scholars from the Shawnee Mission School District. So let's start the video, please.
I want to see some good efforts out of you guys today. I don't want to see people back away. I don't want to see you shy away from competition or shy away from pain. If we're going to be a good team, we got to be tough.
If you look at our program, not just Bolesti, but at the whole program, I think we have a whole team of people that work really hard, and I was really excited to see the attention, all of the attention, see the kids get all the attention, and not just Bolesti. I mean, we had a good girls team and a good boys team this year, and at meets it was fun to see our kids taking home team trophies. You know, it's always nice to see kids on the medal stand, but at the end of the day, those pictures of your team up there holding the trophy, those are priceless.
You know, as great of an athlete as he is, he's an even better human being. Bolesti has been incredibly humble with every single award he's received. It didn't matter if it was receiving a medal for a first place at a random cross-country meet or being recognized as the Kansas City Athlete of the Week. I mean, he took every single accolade in the same manner. Completely humble, gracious. That's the type of young man that he is.
Every day I was doing practice, I got a little bit better. I was dedicated. Coach Jefferson, he always told me every day, he always appreciated me. He said, today's good job. Every day he say like, so, oh, I'm doing good. Like, oh, okay, I want to keep going, you know?
Well, it's been a phenomenal year. Bolesti was such a great runner for us, obviously, and really helped our team get to a position where we had kind of dreamed of getting to. And the school really rallied around him. It was really neat seeing him, you know, and being the Gatorade Runner of the Year and being a state champion. And it was really nice for Coach Davidson's program to get the recognition that it really deserved.
As far as him and his accolades, everything that he has done running-wise, you know, if you look at just how far he's come academically and just with adapting to living in the United States, I mean, that's almost more impressive. He's got a good group of friends, he's got a good GPA, and he's going off to college next year, and that's what I'm excited about more than anything is like he's ready to kind of go be his own person and take everything he's learned here at North to the next level, and I think he's going to do awesome there.
Bolesti Academy.
Bolesti, I'll call you're in the audience tonight. Would you stand in fact, Mr. Kramer, would you stand and introduce one of your students to us tonight?
Bolesti, come on, take a look out here. We're here to see you and support education. Great kid. Great guy.
Congratulations again. Dr. Denny, you have a special plaque and proclamation tonight in regard to the Shawnee Mission School District. Would you share that with us, please?
I will. Mrs. Zeal and I were fortunate to be in attendance at an event earlier this month. The Lenexa Rotary Club selected the Shawnee Mission School District as their 2015 Business of the Year, and so they awarded us a nice plaque that evening. I will read it in part. It said, "The business of the year is a business that has high ethical and moral standards, fair and honest with everyone in their business and personal lives, offer their talents to provide opportunities for young people in need and improve their quality of life, provide support for local, regional, national, and international communities, advancing understanding, goodwill, and peace." And so we were certainly very humbled and honored to receive that. And in addition, the Lenexa Rotary Club sponsors an Interact Club, which is a sort of the Rotary Club for high school students, and that's at Shawnee Mission Northwest. And so, in conjunction with that, the club made a contribution of $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation, and they named the Shawnee Mission Northwest High School as the recipient of the Paul Harris Fellow. So it's my honor to present both of these to the school district. So, Dr. Henson, for you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. I want you to listen carefully to this next honor. A group of students at Rose Hill Elementary have been named the 2015-2016 Toshiba National Science Teachers Association Explora Vision honorees. They are recognized for a project plan they submitted for a, are you ready? For a 3-dimensional printer that could print a working human liver. This honor places their project submission among the top 10 of all Explora Vision projects to be submitted to the competition this year, and is one of only 3 in the state to be honored. And I did say working human liver. The Kansas Association of Middle School Administrators has named Hawker Grove and Indian Hills 2016 KAMSA High Performing Schools. In order to be considered for the honor, these schools need to demonstrate success in one of 5 areas that include relationships, relevance, responsive culture, results, and rigor. The Down Syndrome Guild of Greater Kansas City named Robin Fugit, a paraprofessional at Prairie Elementary, and Angela Holtgraves, a special education teacher at Shawnee Mission West, community champions. The honor is given in recognition for their work with students with Down syndrome. Arts KC recently recognized Shawnee Mission East in the Creative Collab with the Arts KC Education Award. The program, run by Adam Finkelstein, is a mixed disciplinary project that is run in partnership with a local environmental group. Susan Massey, a teacher at Shawnee Mission Northwest, was a recipient of the 2016 Gold Key Award in the Columbia Scholastic Press Association Spring Convention in New York City. The honor is presented to those who distinguish themselves in the area of school press. We want to congratulate Dr. Jeremy Higgins, an associate principal at Shawnee Mission East. He has earned a doctorate in educational leadership through Southwestern College in Winfield, Kansas. Congratulations, Dr. Higgins. We invite you to mark your calendars for the 54th Annual Research and Develop Forum coming up on April 30 and May 1st at Shawnee Mission West. The event will feature interactive educational exhibits as well as many examples of student work on display for the community. The event will conclude with a ceremony on the afternoon of May 1, which will be open to the public, live streamed. And you can see the live stream site and broadcast via the district's cable channel. Well, we were recently notified of one of our, we call it R&D honorees from a few years ago. He and his partners have sold a company for a whole lot of money. That would be in the billions of dollars, and so came right here from Shawnee Mission, an award winner for Research and Development Forum. This winter, the Shawnee Mission School District had a lot to celebrate in the area of athletics, including multiple state championship titles. The Shawnee Mission East boys swim team was named 6A champion and earned multiple individual honors. Shawnee Mission Northwest girls basketball team earned second place in the 6A state championship. Shawnee Mission West celebrated a first place state wrestling champion, Jose Montoya. And Shawnee Mission North earned the first boys basketball 6A state championship title in 63 years. We congratulate our coaches and the more than 1,200 high school students who participated in winter athletics for their hard work and their achievements, and offer our encouragement to everyone as the spring season gets away. And certainly we'll have more celebration and recognition at our May school board meeting. Tonight I want to mention a couple of items to you in relation to property acquisition. So we have a few items on our consent agenda tonight. First one I'll mention to you is in relation to the Intercom. We call it the Intercom acquisition. So it's at 50th and Belinder. It's in the city of Westwood. One of the things that we always monitor as a school district, if we have property that's in close proximity or certainly adjacent to a school that might become available, the opportunity to acquire that property. The Intercom property became available, and so tonight on the consent agenda, we have the acquisition of the Intercom property. The Intercom property, and with that, Intercom towers elsewhere, they'll continue to broadcast for a period of time from those towers, but it allows us to acquire the property that is becoming available. We will, in the future, probably via a bond issue, need to construct a new Westwood View Elementary School. And this gives us an opportunity to have property that is available. We have had extensive conversation with Mayor Ye, and Mayor, I'll have you speak in just a moment. Mayor Ye, the city of Westwood, in relation to what really happens if the Westwood View current elementary school on that site, not the Intercom site, but if we build on the Intercom site, if that becomes available. And a part of the conversation is really in relation to community partnership. And so I'm going to ask the mayor to talk about the properties the city owns there. And so in our conversation, and great conversation about what benefits the school district, what really benefits the city as well. And so we have council drafting up first right of refusal for the city of Westwood in relation to Westwood View and the Intercom property as well. So we just want to make sure as we look at future use of property that we currently own or property that we are acquiring, that we're also in communication in relation to the cities as well. So Mayor Ye, if you would kind of describe that to us as well. You've been great to collaborate with us on this project, and so the impact on the city as well. Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here and to see so many familiar faces. I'm used to sitting on your side of the fence, not on this side so much, so it's a little bit more intimidating when you're down here. First, I would say thanks for the opportunity to work with the school district. It's been a long process, if you will. When I came into office on the council in 2008, one of the first things I realized about the relationship between the school district and the city of Westwood is that essentially there really wasn't that much of a relationship between the school district. And it was of nobody's fault other than the school district had their responsibilities, the city had their responsibilities, and if they happened to bump into each other, great. But there was no conscious effort to really bring together the necessary forces that ultimately build, create, and maintain a long-term successful community. And so when I became mayor in 2008, obviously within probably 4 weeks, the Kansas City Star published an article that talked about the possible closing of Westwood View. So you can imagine my first week in the office, I heard from a lot of parents, a lot of upset people. And my one key observation, I think, was that in looking at this as a parent who had children at Westwood View, who was very protective inherently of the school, found that our nature was to grab our pitchforks and grab our torches and fight the school district to protect that school that we hold so dearly and fervently to our heart, instead of making sure that we were working in tandem with you for its long-term success. So then began the relationship setting, if you will, a lot of help from Donna Bisfield at the time and Dr. Johnson, the former superintendent. And more notably in the last 2 years, starting 4 years ago, but specifically in the last 2 years with Deb Ziela's help, Dr. Henson, Dr. Southwick, I want to thank you specifically. I would also like to just point out, if I could have, we have council members here, if they would stand up. We have some very dedicated Westwood City Council members. If you would stand up for just a minute to be recognized. Thank you. The members of the council, we're very fortunate at Westwood. We don't have fractured, splintered, or disruptive council, planning commission, and economic development committees. They work very, very good in concert. So with regard to that and how some of that is meaningful to this, in context for this discussion, obviously the Intercom property, which is approximately 8 acres in the heart of Westwood, has been a serious consideration that nothing happened on for a long time. This represents a substantial change of epic proportions in Westwood. It's an 82-year change on the property with the possibility of removal of a 550-foot tower in the heart of a residentially surrounded area. It represents a 46-year change to the school district and a possible improvement to the Westwood View Elementary, which was state-of-the-art, of course, in 1969, 1970. It represents the future, certainly probably 3 decades of opportunity for Westwood's future sustainability and residential development. So in my early conversations with Dr. Henson, one of the things we covered was it doesn't make sense for either of us to head into strategic positioning or planning for each of our necessary obligations without mutual efforts that are mutually beneficial. It also was evident to me from Westwood's comprehensive planning session. We just held our first one since 1997 recently, and clearly we're not only closely associating our identity with Westwood View, it begins with Westwood View. Everything begins with our school. It serves 5 different municipalities. It provides for the successful housing stock to be renovated, which is 50 to 75 years old. It provides for successful retail, commercial, and future family living. And that's what we've seen happen. We've seen a growth happen, and we couldn't do it without partnering with the school board. So I want to thank the school board for the opportunity. We look for a long-term successful, in mentioning what Dr. Henson said, we started years ago working toward improving our park, which is next to the school, and there is a Westwood Christian Church, which is next to that was closing. So we worked very diligently for a 2-year period with the pastor and the senior elders of that church to acquire that property so that we could have the opportunity to work with the school district on making sure Westwood View had the opportunity to sustain all this other growth that we're encountering. So I don't need to say too much more other than we can't do it without you. Stay with us. And I don't think you can do it with us, and we will stay with you. So thank you.
Mayor Yeh, members of the council, thank you for being here tonight. A great partnership between the school district and the city of Westwood. Again, this item is on your consent agenda tonight. Last week, Shawnee Elementary students and staff members spent their first week in the new Shawnee Elementary School building, which was built through capital outlay funding. On Friday, the district celebrated by holding a grand opening ceremony. It was a great moment to see the school community and the district community come together to celebrate the new facility, offering new and improved spaces for our students. This Friday, we celebrate again as a groundbreaking is being held on April 1 at Ryan Benninghoven Elementary School. This is part of the $223 million bond issue approved by voters to allow for facility improvements in our district. Dr. Southwick, speaking of facility improvements, give us a construction update this evening, please.
Well, the landscape continues to be exciting in the Shawnee Mission School District in terms of the work. Crestview and Trailwood and Briarwood Elementary Schools are all under construction and making great progress. John, you'll be glad to know, and I know you've been over there daily, we have walls up now at Crestview. We've dug through the rock and we're finally there.
I saw that you have my office built towards the back of the property.
It is. It's a solid concrete wall with no windows. Called a storm shelter, so take that, John, however you'd like. It is very exciting. In addition, the Center for Academic Achievement is in the process of being closed in. We think within the next month or so, the building will be entirely enclosed in. It won't have an environment, but it will begin to see additional work take place. And as Dr. Henson mentioned earlier, we hope to be able to do some hard hat tours with the board so that you can actually get in there to feel what the spaces will be like. So all that progress is going very well. Tonight, we have some guests with us tonight. I think it was March 15th. Dr. Denny and Deb Zealy and I went to the Lenexa City Council meeting where they conveyed a piece of property to the Shawnee Mission School District for the Aquatic Center. And we had an opportunity to be there and visit just a little bit in front of the board, and they're here tonight to return the favor. And we also have on the consent agenda for our portion of that to take place, for us to execute that so that we can sign that document and be on our way. So I'd like to introduce Eric Wade. Eric's here tonight and has a few of his colleagues that are here tonight that he'll introduce, and we'll give you a chance to visit.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. Before I start, I'd like to introduce our Mayor, Mike Boehm, and Council Member Mandy Stuckey. As Dr. Southwick said, on March 15th, we, at our council meeting, approved an agreement to convey the property to the school district for the future aquatic center. We're very excited about how things are going. I want to just say a few things. This marks a very big moment for us in the community, as it's yet another thing going into our city center. And I would encourage you all to drive by the site where this is going to be built. You can see our Civic Center currently under construction right now, and we'll connect and be part of a greater civic campus with your presence there. We are moving through just sort of the preliminary thoughts on how the project will fit on the land, how we're going to deal with parking, maybe some of the other amenities that can come along later as things develop. And I want to tell you that Dr. Southwick has been outstanding to work with. We were really appreciative of just his willingness to sit down and work through things with us. Your architect, Dwayne Cash, is really good at understanding how it's going to fit in with the rest of the development. I think that's very promising, and it will help make an outstanding asset for our communities together. And I think what I really appreciate is being able to work with you to build better community for all the people in not just Lenexa, but the whole Shawnee Mission School District. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. We do have, I think, 3 slides that show a little bit about the project and some of the development we've done. The slide that's there now actually shows the location of where the aquatic center will fit in relationship to City Center. It actually is the kind of darker blue building there in the middle. If we go to the next slide, you'll begin to see how it lays out in relationship to parking, the pool itself, and then some additional areas that are still in development. We're not exactly sure that additional space and what we'll do. We are in a partnership as we work. We have to provide parking for that, and we'll be in a partnership working with the city in the development of the parking that will handle our facility. You'll notice the sky bridge there that actually will connect our building to a Lenexus building. One of the nice things about that, we started in the very earliest planning stages, that it allowed us, if we were connected, to not have to build or duplicate some of the facilities that they might have, amenities that they might have, that we could share. So again, we're excited about that particular partnership. And I think this last slide begins to show you a little bit about what the building will look like. We're still in design phase. One of the things that the city has asked us to do is to build a building that looks like it's supposed to be there with the rest of the center. So our architects have worked very closely with theirs to make sure that takes place. And you'll also see that sky bridge, a little portion of that is it will jet across the street and connect with the Lenexus Community Center. So again, we're excited about this. This is the first stages. If you remember back, we signed the MOU to begin this conversation, that we agreed that we would work on this process. And this is the culmination of the transfer of the property, so we can really get down to business now and move forward. We think we'll move forward with design. As we've talked about before, we will be looking at an RFP, RFQ process for a management company or a group organization that potentially could manage this pool. And our goal is to bring that to you hopefully in the next couple of months, so that we can have those people involved in the design processes to make sure that we don't miss anything that will allow us to generate revenue so we can keep this thing open. So again, it's exciting. We opened a new school this last week. We're going to ground break this week. We're conveying property tonight, and we're moving forward with the projects. And I would be very remiss if I didn't say a few things with respect to our community partners that have been here tonight, that have worked with us on projects. It's been great to work with them, and to date, there's not been any problem that we couldn't solve. And then also to the voters who voted last year, $223 million so that we could do this work to revitalize the Shawnee Mission School District. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Yeah, we'll say again, Mayor Boehm and Mayor Ye, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it very, very much. One other item under all of the construction tonight, a little bit of it going on. Item 33 on your consent agenda tonight is the acquisition of property. It's on Carter Avenue. It's in the city of Merriam. As you know, one of our goals is to combine the warehouse and the operations and maintenance program in the district, 2 different sites. So this is the acquisition of the property. Certainly it's not the construction, so that design process has to yet occur. But tonight we'll have the Intercom property, the property there on Carter, which is not for a school site, but for an operation site, and then the conveyance of the property from the city of Lenexa. As you see on your screen tonight, we have a picture of the Capitol. The legislative update tonight is certainly on our website, our latest legislative update from our lobbyist, Dr. Stuart Little. The legislature has recessed, save some committee work until the 27th of April. And at that time, we'll see what occurs in the veto session. I think there are 2 things for us to watch very, very carefully. One is in relation to what may happen in the legislature when they convene again in the veto session. As you know, looking at the legislative updates, there are some bills that are still, I'm going to call them out there, they're still live, active. We'll see what happens in that process. In relation to the Senate substitute for House Bill 2655, in relation to school finance, passed by both chambers, that'll be on the way to the governor's desk. We'll see if or what the court certainly has to say about that issue as time goes on. So the legislature is one issue. Going to remind you of another issue that we're watching still very carefully, and that is in relation to state revenues. So the state revenue picture, we'll have a lot better idea the end of this week in relation to the March revenues, certainly during the veto session, looking at the April revenues as well. Will we have allotments in relation to K-12? That's just a reduction in revenue. We don't know the answer to that question. Certainly, we believe the March and or the April state revenues will probably dictate what happens in relation to any potential allotments or cuts to K-12. So the Senate substitute for House Bill 2655, we have that provision of finance. We'll see what plays out in that regard. But then we also have allotments, the allotment potential in relation to state revenues or lack thereof. And so we'll follow both of those issues very, very carefully. Thoughts, questions, comments on legislative update? I know you've viewed those updates as well. For us, a lot of activity in the last 2 weeks, a lot of legislative activity. If not, that concludes our superintendent's report. Mrs. Goodburn.
All right, we move to C1, presentation from the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation. Ms. Kim Hinkle, our new executive director. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mrs. Goodburn. I just have a very, very quick update from the foundation. Last week, we were very excited to give 11 Excellence in Education Foundation grants to 17 teachers for the 16-17 school year. And these span elementary, middle, and high school. Some of the, just a couple, to name some examples of what we gave, a new maker space for STEAM projects in the library at Pawnee Elementary, robotics at Indian Woods Middle School, and anatomy models where clay is used in place of dissection animals for Shawnee Mission West High School. So we are very excited to do that, and the teachers of the Shawnee Mission School District are doing incredible work, and on behalf of our board of directors, we're so thrilled to partner with them and all the good work they're doing in the classroom. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move to D1, which is open forum, and we do have a few speakers this evening. I'm just going to read this brief Addressing the board, at the beginning of each regular business meeting, the Board of Education provides an open forum as an opportunity for public comment on school district issues. Agendas are published in advance to notify the community of the topics under consideration. Patron comments are welcome, but those wishing to speak to an issue not included in the agenda will usually not receive a response during the meeting. The board president will limit the time per speaker. I would say tonight, since we have 4 and the agenda, how about 3 to 4 minutes apiece? That would be wonderful. We will start with Holly Beckstrom.
Thank you very much for hearing me tonight, and I apologize for having my computer with me. I didn't get copies for you, but I will email them to you as soon as I can. My concern tonight is that there is no longer going to be a requirement for high school students to take basic computer classes. And I understand that the logic behind that is because they've been using computers since grade school now, so they won't really need it. But my daughter is a sophomore at Shawnee Mission South. She took the computer class last semester because it was required. She came out of the computer class certified in Microsoft Office Word and Microsoft Office PowerPoint. So now, when she gets her summer job, she is going to be able to earn $15 to $17 an hour instead of minimum wage. When she goes to college, she will be able to do the same. She was planning on taking another computer class and certifying all the way and getting her Microsoft Office certification, except peer pressure, it's not required, she doesn't want to do it. It's kind of like learning your ABCs. Kids just don't want to do it, but it is so important. It's very, very important to learn. The world works off of Microsoft Office. It just does, and we're not using that in the schools. It's to their advantage if they learn both, because then they can communicate better when they hit the real world. But major corporations, the government uses Microsoft Office. It's just a secure product that they understand. Also, you can interlink these products. So instead of sending out an email and saying, everybody respond back to me, and then taking the manual time to get your results, what you do is you have it automatically computed for you. It just computes for you. It goes right into a PowerPoint presentation for you. You tweak it a little bit, and you're done. You don't have manual labor. Now, in order for the kids to get through college, I think that's an essential. It's essential for them to get through college, knowing how to manipulate the products they need to manipulate to accomplish their tasks, get better grades, and get out there. So I don't want to bore you with a lot of statistics. I'm trying to talk as fast as I can. Starting salaries for people with Microsoft Office certification, $55,000 for executive assistant. Now, we're not talking blue-collar jobs here. We're not talking, if your student comes out with a law degree, they're not going to start right out, they're going to be an executive assistant of some sort. So I came here to Kansas City because I took a scholarship for service. And the scholarship for service, it says on their website, I guarantee you this is just a really low-end ball of the game. It says here, the program provides scholarships that fully fund the cost incurred for full-time students while attending and participating in participating institution. There are 2 in Kansas and 1 in Missouri that participate with this program. The costs they cover are the tuition, all the books, all your educational experiences. They fly you to Washington, D.C. twice a year, so you can go to a job service and meet all the different agencies and the executive departments that will be hiring you. They give you a stipend. And here it says they give you a stipend of $22,500 if you're an undergraduate, or $34,000 if you're an upper graduate. And I did the math on that, and that's way less than I made, and I know it's way less than they're making. So I got $2,000 a month that I went there. Now, they didn't have to pay me for the summer, but my college institution did afford us our summer wages. We have to do an internship in the summer. And when you do an internship, you're making the rate of $50,000 to $60,000 a year. So you're making a little more anyway. So that, I'm just saying that these jobs are being funded, and you can make up, here are the latest salaries. The security practice leader, you know, the Sarbanes-Oxley rules say, okay, The Sarbanes-Oxley's rules say that if you're an executive, if you're a CO, and you have to know what's going on with your computers. It's not enough to say, well, I didn't know what was going on. You have to know what's going on. If you have the fundamentals and you can understand what's going on, this person right here is a security practice leader. All he does is advise the board, and he gets $256,000 a year on average. So I'm just saying it's crazy not to, no matter what they want to study, they're going to have to do those term papers, those PowerPoint presentations, and it's essential for them to have it. So I really hope you reconsider. Thank you.
Okay, our second speaker is Brian Kuhn.
Good evening to President Goodburn, the board, Dr. Hinson. My name is Brian Kuhn, and I'm the lobbyist for Kansas Families for Education. As such, I spend a fair amount of time at Topeka talking with legislators in both the House and the Senate and on both sides of the aisle. I hear arguments that schools are top-heavy with administrators making large salaries and that student fees are increasing at the same time that administrative salaries are increasing. The pro-public education legislators express that they're deeply concerned and more than a little frustrated that there are some districts where some of these claims appear to be true. Now, as I said earlier, I'm a lobbyist. I investigate all the claims so as to find counterpoints and use facts to disprove false arguments or misunderstood facts. I've spoken to superintendents and school board members from all across the state, and they tell me that in general, this notion of school administration being bloated simply isn't true. They tell me stories of superintendents taking on additional administrative duties without additional pay, or in some cases, superintendents are taking pay cuts so that much-needed teachers or classroom aides may be hired, or so that teachers who have seen salary freezes for years may finally get a small increase. This is what I was prepared to read when I investigated the same anti-education claims as they pertain to the Shawnee Mission School District, especially since I recalled that Dr. Hinson had some efforts last year to create a leaner administration. But I was disappointed by what I found. KSHB 41 reported on March 7th of this year in the article, quote, Shawnee Mission leads area school districts in employees who make 100,000 K or above, end quote. Indeed, the Shawnee Mission School District has more administrative positions with annual salaries at or above $100,000 than any other district in the area, with 76 in total. Further, Shawnee Mission leads the pack not just with total quantity, but also as a ratio of high salary administrators to students, which is 1 for every 364 students. In the same article, Dr. Hinson, you're quoted as saying, no additional revenue coming to Shawnee Mission at all. Could we see a decrease in revenue? The answer is yes. Later in the same article, Dr. Hinson is quoted as saying, quote, we're getting ready to issue contracts to teachers and other individuals, and we have a very uncertain fiscal picture for the future, end quote. Prior to that, on February 23rd of this year, Dr. Hinson, you were quoted in an article by Fox 4 about block grant funding for the 2016-17 school year as saying, quote, I don't see any scenario where we will see an increase in revenue. The likelihood we will see the same amount of revenue is small. The likelihood we will lose millions of dollars we're currently receiving is pretty high, end quote. To further elaborate, you said, quote, we're looking at where we can cut, and where we can cut is multiple millions of dollars. And further still, what we are facing will have very significant impact on the programs, services, and class sizes we currently have in the Shawnee Mission School District, end quote. So imagine my surprise when I do not find a subsequent article discussing the cuts made to trim administrative fat, but instead the contract for superintendent of Shawnee Mission in which a compensation increase is given approximating $25,000. And all this at the same time that you, sir, were aware of the unpredictable and insecure status of public education funding. Furthermore, the highest level of the administration also received raises ranging from about $16,000 to about $25,000. So at the same time that teachers in the Shawnee Mission District haven't had a meaningful raise in 8 years, while we have families in this district who will only be able to pay their student fees by cutting to the bone somewhere else in their household budget, Superintendent Hinson, you and top administrators have gotten pay raises to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars.
4 minutes.
I find it unacceptable that administrators receive about a 10% pay increase on their already high salaries. Now, I want to be clear in my criticism. I don't have a problem with all district employees receiving a similar raise or general increases in compensation across the board. I don't have a problem with administrators or superintendent's position getting a bonus for yielding positive results that can be attributed primarily to a new administrative technique. But I do have a problem with administrators who earn more and more money without yielding impressive results, who want to cut IB and other programs that make Shawnee Mission great in an attempt to save a little money, and all the while classroom teachers' salaries are frozen and they're asked to achieve more with less. To me, and a lot of parents and patrons of the Shawnee Mission School District, the only people who deserve a raise right now are the teachers, or it needs to be in hiring more teachers. Presiding over the hollowing out of district's core services isn't grounds for a 10% raise. Right now, at my son's
Mr.
school,
Kuhn,
the 2 fourth grade classes
That's 5 minutes. Can you hear?
have 31 students in each classroom. With all due respect to my friends in KCK, 31 students in one classroom is a KCK class size. And if I get KCK class sizes with my Johnson County tax rate, I've got a problem with that too. I moved to Johnson County to gladly pay my Johnson County taxes and with the expectation that my kids would go to the kind of schools that Johnson County is known for. After all, if I'd wanted to go to KCK schools, I'd have moved to KCK. These administrative raises are unacceptable to parents and patrons in this
Mr.
district.
Kim, can you hurry, like, your overtime? So I either have to cut you off, or could you take another 10 seconds?
Sure. I suppose this is my question. To the board, why did you offer? And to Dr. Hinson, Dr. Southwick, why did you accept 10% pay increases while teachers' salaries are frozen? Is there an unspent reserve from which new teachers and classroom aides can be hired? If not, why do you at the top of a large administration choose to take a pay raise instead of hire more teachers? Now, thank you very much for your time. I know I went over. I really appreciate it. Now, last time I was here, I received a 3-sentence response to what probably, frankly, should have gotten a little bit more of a response. I understand I'm not getting a response here tonight, but could I have something a little more than 3 sentences?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, our next speaker is Michael Grossman.
I was shocked to learn about the district's investigation of moving 6th grade from elementary school to middle school to meet an expected influx of new students. My surprise was due to the great contrast with recent district history. After all, it was just 5 years ago the district informed parents that Mission Valley Middle School would no longer be needed, in large part because of declining enrollment figures. The school and property were sold for a mere $4.35 million, and numerous parents were frustrated by the board's decision, and especially the lack of compelling reasons for it in light of contrary demographic data submitted to it for consideration, which has apparently proved accurate. That the decision to close the school came after recent investments of greater than $1 million to upgrade the library made it that much more infuriating, and called to mind a similar set of decisions at the now defunct Somerset Elementary School. This problem must be considered in the context of the district having closed 12 schools since 2001. I learned at the recent informational meeting that due to this now expected enrollment growth, the district will need to build additional schools to accommodate students. The choices are between moving 6th graders to middle school, which would entail reopening and retrofitting Broadmoor and Indian Creek schools, and also building a brand new middle school. Alternatively, 2 to 3 new elementary schools will need to be built to accommodate 6th graders if the status quo remains and they remain in elementary school. I was informed at these meetings that the cost of building a new middle school would be $42 to $60 million, and the cost to build new elementary schools would be about $18.5 million each. I was not given an estimate for retrofit costs on the existing middle schools. Moreover, significant land acquisition costs would need to be added for any new schools to be built. I came here tonight for the following reasons: to express my outrage over what seems to be a consistent history of wasting taxpayer money due to poor decisions made by the Board of Education. To explain that as a taxpayer, I do not think of wasted dollars differently, depending on whether they're coming from the operating budget or the capital budget. To condemn the board for putting the new superintendent and assistant superintendent along with the many hardworking task force members studying these issues at its request, in a situation where they meet with parents like me that have legitimate grievances about past decisions and the process with which they were made, without preparing them for such reaction. They should have been afforded the courtesy, considering many of them are new to the district this year. More specifically on that point, I think it was shameful that not a single board member was present at the meeting I attended a few weeks ago so that they could be accountable for their dubious decisions which have contributed to this problem we now face. To urge that decisions made regarding this matter are based on a purely economic basis, given that experts do not agree about whether sixth graders are better off in elementary school or middle school. As explained at the task force, the only advantages would be the availability of a few select after-school activities, given there would be no direct interaction of sixth graders with older students. The cost to build 2 to 3 elementary schools and keep sixth graders in elementary school seems like a fairly obvious choice, given the information I was provided. Finally, and consequently, I call upon the 5 board members that were serving on the board at that time to resign. Seemingly poor financial decision-making, coupled with a board that many believe acts in its own interest, without compelling data to justify important past decisions, or adequately considering input from district stakeholders, had made too many in the district feel as I do, that they have lost confidence in those board members to properly lead the district going forward, or to ably make the important decisions facing it. If you truly care about the district, you should understand that stepping down is the best decision you could make to unite and better the district going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Grossman. And Jim Orr, the last speaker.
Thank you, members of the board. My name's Jim Orr, and I'm here to express my support for the purchase of the Intercom property. And I'm speaking to you as a Shawnee Mission alum myself, but moreover as a citizen of Westwood. I live about a block away from this tract, and I have 2 children who are proud Westwood View Python alumni. And over the weekend also, we're pleased to hear that this is coming to pass. I also want to express my support for the district in keeping in touch with the Northeast area generally. We're the oldest part of the county, with the exception of some of the western areas, and sometimes we feel like maybe we get short shrift, but certainly not from this group. I've also been pleased to see the regreening in my neighborhood. My wholly unscientific study is that when I see stroller after stroller after stroller going by, that bodes very well for kindergarten in just a couple of years, and I am seeing that with greater regularity. In fact, as I drove over here tonight, such a nice evening, I saw stroller after stroller after stroller as I was on my way here. And I also think this type of preparation bodes well for the future, and I would encourage the board to perhaps be even broader and more systematic or systemic in doing that. I think I, for one, was surprised to find that the board is looking at expanding, and I'm very heartened by that. But I do have a concern I want to share with you, and part of it's procedural and part of it's fiscal. The procedural concern is that I understood recently that the city had a right of first refusal, so I contacted Board Member Mack, who graciously directed me to Dr. Southwick some time ago, actually on a different matter. Dr. Southwick was more than gracious with his time, more than generous with his time, and frankly, the fact that he didn't drive over and strangle me for taking so much of his time is a miracle, and I'm pleased. He was very courteous and very gracious. But in the course of our discussion, I asked him if there was any right of first refusal, and he said no, there wasn't one. And evidently there wasn't at that time. But I also inquired of the clerk, the city clerk in Westwood, and as of about 3 o'clock this afternoon, I got an email saying there are no documents of any real estate transactions between USD 512 and the city of Westwood. And of course, I looked at the agenda over the weekend, and there's no mention of that on the agenda. So it's very difficult, in fact, it's impossible for the citizens to be informed as to all the ramifications of this transaction, given that situation. And evidently, this must have come up at the last minute. But that's what troubles me, is we need time to, we, the citizens, the stakeholders, the owners, need time to think about this. Now, that's my procedural concern. My substantive concern, or my fiscal concern, is, as we've heard tonight, and I start to say, as those of us who read the paper, there probably aren't very many of us who read the paper, but those of us who try to stay informed know government at all levels in Kansas is in trouble fiscally speaking. Cities are having their methods of raising funds either through property taxes or even such mundane things as traffic fines greatly eroded by the legislature, or at least their efforts to erode them. So we're concerned. And Westwood is a small city. It is fragile in two respects. It is fiscally fragile. There's not much there to raise money. And it's also fragile in the sense of its structure and infrastructure. We live cheek by jowl. It's a little city, and what happens a block away can dramatically affect your property and your life. And while I will cheerfully see the Entercom property come off the tax rolls for a new grade school or for any purpose for Shawnee Mission schools, I'm not so cheerful if it comes off the tax rolls for anything else. Westwood has recently had, for the size of Westwood, an enormous TIF project that is...
We're at 4 minutes, so.
Okay, I'll try. I'm wrapping it up.
Okay.
Thank you for your generosity with your time. Westwood has also, as Mayor Gay pointed out, acquired a church property. Those are not going to help us tax-wise. They're not going to help the fire district tax-wise, and they're sure not going to help you tax-wise. And as a citizen, to see more property come off the tax rolls, and that will negatively hurt you too, because the city doesn't pay Shawnee Mission Schools taxes, I think it's very troubling and really requires greater thought. So I would strongly encourage you not to jump off and grant a right of first refusal until the people that are involved in this, the people that have a stake in this, have the opportunity to understand that that's on the agenda, have an opportunity to think that that's about what's on the agenda, and have an opportunity to respond. Because as of 2 minutes before this meeting started, in fact, after this meeting started, I had no idea that was on the horizon, because I checked it out and apparently it wasn't. So again, Mayor Ye made a comment a week or so ago at a city forum that this was on the horizon, but I didn't get that information from the school district, I didn't get that information from the city, and I didn't get that information from the agenda. And this has really much more problematic implications than just what this board can or should be involved in. Run the schools, go get them, but I think entering into such tangling alliances without having a more full understanding of all the implications would be premature at best and foolhardy at worst. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay. We move to E1, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 22nd.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. Thank you, Mrs. Zila. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Adoption of the agenda.
I move for adoption of the agenda.
Second. Thank you, Mrs. Mack. Thank you, Mrs. Bisfield. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Move to G1, which is routine approval of routine business by consent.
I would move approval of routine business by consent.
Thank you, Mrs. Neighbor.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Zila. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We move to P1. Is that correct, Dr. Henson?
That is correct.
Business services.
We have a resolution to sell general obligation capital outlay bonds. David Arterberry is with us tonight from George K. Baum and Company. David, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it very much. I think you have some good news to share with us, so please share.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Henson. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Today, the district sold approximately $28 million of general obligation capital outlay bonds, the proceeds of which will primarily be used to fund the construction of the administrative center, with I think some of the funds also going to complete Shawnee, and to the extent that money is available after that, it could be used for other capital projects around the district. These bonds are being repaid from the school district's 8 mil capital outlay levy. It's not part of the $223 million election that was held a couple of years ago. This is actually a separate issuance that's supported by the existing capital outlay levy. and not an additional levy. The district has previously authorized $85 million of bonds. After this issuance, there'll be approximately $18.6 million of authorization for remaining capital outlay bonds available. Today, though, the bids were taken at 11 o'clock, and we holed up in Russell Knapp's office and watched the bids be delivered through the internet, and we're real pleased with the results. You ended up getting a total of 9 bids. The best bid was submitted by a group led by Citigroup out of New York, and the true interest cost on their bid was 1.06239%. A wonderful interest rate. I have to say, though, this is not a 10 or a 20-year bond issue. This is a bond issue with a final maturity in 4.5 years, so that explains part of the rate. But also, the school district's excellent credit was also a big part of the good result that you received. The result is actually really similar to the issue of capital outlay bonds that the district sold in 2014. At that time, you got about the same number of bids and a very similar interest rate. The Citigroup bid was reviewed, it was verified, it complies with all of the terms and the notice of sale. They also provided the necessary good faith deposit, so everything is in line with their bid. After the bid was received and evaluated, we then needed to resize the issue. Each bid is structured a little bit differently, and in order to generate the amount of money that the district was looking to receive, we resized the issue. And the final result is that the principal amount of the bonds will be $28,235,000. With the premium that was provided by the bidder, that will in net generate $30 million for the school district to fund their projects. So. Again, real pleased with the results. The only action that would be required by the board tonight in order to lock in those interest rates and authorize the issuance of the bonds would be the adoption of the bond resolution, which should be part of your package. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions you'd have about the sale or the issue or anything.
I'd move adoption.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. Who seconded?
Mrs. Bisfield.
Okay, where am I? Okay. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion carries, 7-0.
Thanks, David. We appreciate it very, very much. Gina Rykoff is also with us tonight, counsel, representing Gilmore and Bell, so thank you for your work as well, Gina. We appreciate it. And always, Mr. Knapp, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate all your work.
Okay. P2.
P2 is the approval to purchase enterprise resource planning software. Dr. Ath is going to come to the microphone and share really what this entails for us tonight because it is really comprehensive.
Mr. Goodburn, President of the Board, Dr. Henson, Dr. Southwick, members of the Board of Education. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening about a couple of agenda items that you have before you. The Shawnee Mission School District has needed to purchase an enterprise resource planning software for the human resources, business, and technology departments. Our current software has been in place since 1999, and it's time to upgrade our system to the current technology that is available in order to be more efficient in providing these critical services. Keep in mind, this software's been in place almost 17 years. Our process to arrive at this recommendation before you was thorough. And I would like to thank Russ Knapp, Drew Lane, Dr. Doug Sumner, and their respective departments for the many hours they spent upon this, working on this project. I believe we started in October and we finished last week. Our request for proposal was 42 pages in length, and it outlined specific district needs. 3 qualified vendors were selected to demonstrate their products for 2 days each, and then presented a detailed proposal that aligned to the RFP. Over 40 of our employees, representing the business department,
human resources, and technology weighed in and were engaged in this 6-day process and in the process of developing the RFP. After much deliberation by the HR, business, technology departments, it was determined that SunGard K-12 Business Plus provided the best solution to meet our needs for many years to come. And really, if approved tonight, this is the infrastructure to run our operational side of the district. You heard this evening from technology, who eloquently spoke mostly on the instructional side of how they are meeting the needs of kids. And that's the most important thing that we do. But there is another side of this, and it is the operational side. It's the business side. It's the HR side. It's where we accommodate over 4,000 employees and 27,500 students. So even though the technology department didn't mention that directly, that's a big part of what they do for our kids each and every day and for the operation of this district. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we're a large corporation, and we are one of the largest employers in Johnson County, as in most school districts. Before you this evening is a recommendation for approval to purchase SunGard K-12 Business Plus as a best full-service solution at an approximate cost for the 2016-17 school year of $1.4 million, with a maintenance cost of $106,000 for renewal years 2 through 5. I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have, but we are asking for action on this evening.
Could you speak to any staffing changes that might take place between the old system and the new system? Do we pick up third-party staffing that would otherwise replace what we have on hand, or do you not know that yet?
Well, we're kind of in a wait, that's a very good question. We're kind of in a wait-and-see mode, but we are looking at becoming more efficient with this software as we get it implemented. I don't think we'll see any gain or reduction in personnel immediately, because keep in mind, during the implementation phase of this software, our business department and HR department is going to be utilizing PeopleSoft and at the same time implementing the software. The technology department is going to be maintaining PeopleSoft at the same time they're going to be implementing the new software. So I don't think we'll glean a savings to begin with, but I am hopeful in the future that we will, with a more up-to-date software that will meet the needs of our district.
Ms. Neighbor?
When would be your expectation on implementation?
If the board sees fit to approve the recommendation this evening, we will conclude contract negotiations with SunGard, and we will probably start implementation in April sometime. We have an aggressive goal of full implementation by January 2017, but that is a very aggressive implementation. I tend to think it may take a little longer than that, but even once we get it functional and operational, we still got to go back and train and retrain our employees to make sure they're proficient on the software to where we're utilizing the software to its fullest.
And do we have the computer capacity to handle this program? Because I know in the past when we purchased PeopleSoft, we had to do some upgrading because of it integrating and things. I just want to make sure we're not looking at you coming and saying, okay, this isn't integrated quite right, so now we're going to have to look at more computer technology to make this work. Has that all been discussed?
Drew Lane has been involved with this from the very beginning, and his team, he was part, as I said earlier, of developing the request for proposal, and I believe that we have things in place, and what we're asking for here, we have the ability to implement this software in our current structure. Drew? Better ask the expert.
Dr. Denny?
Dr. Atha, I think, if I understand it correctly, one of the attributes of this upgraded system just as an example, would allow integration of an online application for employment where it just would go everywhere it needed to go instead of having to go in and then be re-entered somewhere else and re-entered somewhere else. And I see a fair amount of efficiency in that sort of opportunity.
Again, Dr. Sumner has been involved in this process, and I know he's looking at every possibility to streamline our human resources software, so I'm pretty comfortable that we'll be able to do exactly what you outlined.
Good.
Please don't underestimate the complexity of this type of a transition. So it's all of our business, finance, payroll, purchasing, human resources departments. So we have a software system now that is 17 years of age. We will run a dual platform for a while, as Dr. Atha has talked about, but it is a very significant transition. It's very much needed, but it will take a period of time and a tremendous amount of work, but certainly it needs to happen.
Ms. Seela.
Dr. Atha, I would just say thank you for the time that your vast team has put into culling through the vendors that have come before you. It's kind of a mind-numbing experience in my thoughts anyway. And I thank you for whittling it down to this particular company that you think will serve our needs best, because obviously this will be in place hopefully for another 17 years if we can nurse it along that long with the Band-Aids that we did with PeopleSoft. So thank you for your efforts in this. We appreciate it very much.
Ms. Mack?
I move approval to purchase enterprise resource planning software.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. Thank you, Dr. Denny. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Atha.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Oh, you're staying. Okay. Q1.
Dr. Atha's up again.
It's still on.
Revised board policy before you tonight. It is a revision of the board policy. Dr. Atha's worked on this policy. I'm going to have him introduce it for you tonight.
Perfect.
I'm asking you this evening to consider approving your policy regarding our foreign exchange students. And I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of your policy, emphasizing 2 or 3 points. But we're asking you to really delete the first 3 paragraphs there. The first 2, in my opinion, they are irrelevant to the foreign exchange policy. The first paragraph refers to F1 visas and students that have F1 visas. As a district, we are no longer able to approve students that have F1 visas. The Department of Homeland Security monitors those visas. So we will not be approving, if the board approves, we really cannot approve any students with F1 visas at this time. In reference to the second paragraph there, in reference to students that have H1, H4 visas, we really don't need that in the policy because we have another way to approve those students, and it's just simply through our enrollment process. Those are students that reside with family members of multinational corporations and live within the boundaries of our district. The major change here in your current policy allows for unlimited enrollment of foreign exchange students. So it's very possible, even though it hasn't happened to my knowledge, we could have 40 or 50 foreign exchange students in each of our high schools, and our policy would allow for that. What I'm asking you to do today, this evening, as part of the revision, is to allow the administration to limit the enrollment of foreign exchange students based upon available space, based upon class size, based upon the total enrollment of the high school. We are in challenging financial times. And we would like to be able to limit those number of foreign exchange students. And that's not to devalue foreign exchange students in any way, shape, or form. We do feel like, and I think the board feels like, and many of you or some of you have hosted foreign exchange students. So the cultural benefits of having a foreign exchange student in our schools is really great to have. But as a district, we're becoming more diverse. We have more students coming to us that bring those experiences to our school on a day-to-day basis, and I think that needs to be noted as well. So that's the recommendation, that you approve this change in your policy as presented. Questions?
Is there thoughts of the timeline for this? Just because having hosted a child this year, I know that there's a process of interacting with all the groups that provide sponsorship to these students. So is there a process to say, well, we'll let all these groups know in April so that they can know then that we know we have limits as to how many there are?
If approved tonight, we will begin that tomorrow, of notifying all of the agencies of our guidelines that we plan on putting in place to implement this policy. And right now our thinking is that we would limit the number of foreign exchange students to each high school to the number 5.
Okay.
And that's congruent with our surrounding schools around us allow anywhere from 4 to 6 right now. So we're at that 5 area right now, and I met with principals today and their designees who will be handling this policy if it goes into effect, and we're ready to roll it out tomorrow, providing approval tonight.
All right, thanks.
I have a procedural question, Mrs. Goodburn.
Yes.
Is this a final reading? So we will be voting on the policy
Yes.
tonight?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
For clarification, thank you.
Yes, it is.
I would move approval of revised board policy JQKA.
Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. Do we have a second?
Second.
Dr. Denny, I'll take that one. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Dr. Atha.
Thank you, Dr. Atha. Okay, Q2?
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn.
What? Q2.
Q2, you're right.
We have before you tonight approval of a boundary recommendation between Neiman and Shawnee Elementary School. And so as you look at that tonight, as you're keenly aware, we constructed Shawnee to house a larger student population than the old Shawnee building. We're also under a mandate. We have a mobile unit at Neiman, and so a mandate to remove that mobile unit from the city. And so the boundary change is from 75th to 79th, from I-35 to Neiman, to move that block of population of approximately 48 students. It was 48 when we put this together a few weeks ago. 48 students from Neiman Elementary School to Shawnee Elementary School. And so Chief Douglas is aware in relation to students that are going to be walking from a new area, if we have any crossing guard issues or needs in that area as well. So this is a boundary change that we've talked about a lot publicly. It'll take approximately 48 students between 75th and 79th Streets. And again, the map is before you tonight, from I-35 to Neiman, from Neiman to the Shawnee Elementary School, beginning for the 16-17 school year.
So I have a question then. Will they stay in the feeder pattern then for middle school that they're currently in, middle school and high school? Or will they go to, because that's a difference in between Neiman goes to Hawker and then north, and Shawnee goes to Trail Ridge and then northwest?
They will be in the feeder pattern of their new attendance area.
Okay.
Obviously, we do have a transfer process at the secondary level for those that want to continue on if they have, for whatever reason, they would so desire to do that. But they'll be a part of their new attendance area.
Okay.
And Dr. Hudson, you did talk about, because this is one street would be considered Lenexa, and the other major street that they have to cross would be Shawnee. And so John Douglas?
Chief's aware of
Chief's
the
aware.
issue, and so we work with those
Thank you.
cities in relation to those crossing guards, and we've had great cooperation from our cities in relation to use of crossing guards, so we don't anticipate any issues there.
Thank you. I move approval of the new boundaries for Shawnee Elementary School.
Thanks, Mrs. Mack. Thanks, Ms. Neighbor. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, Q3.
Q3, approve a revised board policy. This is in relation to the unexpired term fulfillment and vacancy. This is not an option for us. It's simply aligning our board policy language with state statute. You will recall that the legislature changed the time frame of elections for us as well. And so that statutory change is just reflected in the board policy tonight. And again, it's just alignment with statute.
Any questions? Or I hear a motion.
So moved.
So moved. I'll take Dr. Denny's. Ms. Seeley, you
I'll
want to give the
second.
second?
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we move to board comments. T1 is board comments. So any comments from Ms. Neighbor?
I want to thank you for the action tonight on Neiman. It's been a large topic of discussion with the city of Shawnee, and they were ready for the mobiles. They questioned the mobile when it came right after being new, and so they will be very, very, very happy.
Thank you. Mrs. Mack?
I just wanted to tag on, we talked about opening Shawnee. We had the celebration last week, and just want to thank the neighborhood, the community around Shawnee. If you've driven by on 75th Street, you'll note that we built on site, and it's very close to the old Shawnee. But to attend those ceremonies, the mayor, Shawnee, was there, several city council people as well. The excitement on those children's face, and I have to say, especially when the Shawnee Mission North Naval ROTC came and presented the colors, it was quite a dynamic event. Shawnee was slated to be closed, and we chose to rebuild it. And it was a very, very good decision that we made as a Board of Education. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to actually toss it to Mrs. Goodburn, because we had a chance to go to Wichita a couple of weeks ago, and I was excited to watch the Shawnee Mission Northwest girls. They valiantly played for first place. We took second place, but Shawnee Mission North, Mrs. Goodburn, would you like to comment, please?
It was very exciting. It was obviously a very exciting time at North, and thank you for driving. And we had a wonderful experience sharing that with the North community. And those students really came out to support the school. It was unbelievable. 3 nights in a row, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Pep buses going down, and actually teachers and sponsors going with those students on those buses, getting back. We had the unfortunate time of playing at about 8:15 in the evening, both times, and then driving back from Wichita after those games. So there were very late arrivals in school the next day. So it was really an exciting time. We had a great celebration last Wednesday in the field house for all those students, for all students that had done winter sports and different things and excelled. But it was really exciting. Students are very, very excited. So it was great to see. Great to see just the support of that team and the camaraderie, and how many of the kids have said that's just the best thing. That's, they'll remember it forever. So it's great. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? Dr. Dennis?
I move that the Board of Education recess to executive session in order to consult with our attorney on matters deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship, and to discuss matters relating to employer-employee negotiations. The meeting will reconvene at 9:05, and no further business will be conducted following the executive session.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Too early.
Thank you for coming tonight.